Let us come to order. Today is July the 12th. We're at the Civic Center for our regular monthly meeting of the City Council. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and every blessing of life, and we thank you so much for the beautiful weather that you've given us this month. We thank you for the prosperity and the safety of all of our visitors and the way that the town is moving. We pray, Lord, that you will continue to bless us in all these ways. For your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Thank you all for coming on this warm evening. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Here.
Ms. Albrecht?
Here.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes, here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Putnam?
Here. Just a few comments. The 4th of July, I believe we had the most people ever. It took the effort of a lot of folks that were volunteers, a lot of our city employees that did a tremendous job. Sanitation guys did a tremendous job. Police did a great job, had a lot of calls for service. CDC, fireworks were fantastic as usual. And of course, with that, all the volunteers that helped to raise all that money for those fireworks, great job, great job. We really appreciate that. Next week on Tuesday, we're going to have one of our first that I know of, a town hall meeting in the form of a workshop for all the citizens to come together on Tuesday at 6 o'clock to talk about sanitation ordinance. We do need to hear everybody's point of view once again. We need any new ideas anybody might have. It's not going to be a regular forum like this. I'm going to be the moderator, and everybody in the room and people can make any comment they want to basically about sanitation ordinance in a more informal atmosphere, and we invite everyone to come to that. Also, this week on July the 14th at 9 o'clock in the morning, which is Thursday, we're going to have the groundbreaking for the Parker Park. We'll have our chairman of the county commission here, and we'll get some publicity for that. We're going to get the gold shovels tomorrow, and we're going to do some dirt. You see the guys are really in high gear over there already. Stop and talk to them today, and they're optimistic that things are going to go very well. So we're going to do a little formal groundbreaking ceremony, and of course all the public is invited to attend that as well. A special thanks to the leadership of the city this past week. You guys, most of them are sitting right here above and beyond, and we really appreciate that as a council. Thank you.
Ditto. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Ditto?
Ditto. No. Y'all are easy. Hey, citizens' comments, please. Please come to the podium and tell us who you are and where you live.
My name is Judith Black. I live on 15th Street. It saddens me that our most beautiful beach in America has increasingly become cluttered with personal property and holes that are left for far too long. This has become a hazard to wildlife and a source of conflict among people trying to share or refusing to share the beach. Rather than being a role model for appreciating, protecting, and nourishing this beach ecosystem, our current approach in Mexico Beach encourages visitors to contribute even more to the wall of junk that we face daily. This can be remedied by passage of a leave no trace ordinance and compliance management, as has been accomplished in most other beaches and recreational areas in the United States. I encourage you to do this and to keep it simple. You pack it in, you pack it out, or it will be removed and destroyed nightly with no exceptions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Logan, 402 Maryland. I would like the public to know, and I'm using this as a forum to reach the public, that if they want to have any input on the city's budget for this upcoming fiscal year, they need to be here Monday morning at 8 a.m. That's going to be the second workshop. There was a marathon session yesterday, which I attended for 6 hours to discuss budget. So if you want to have anything to say about it, you need to show up Monday morning at 8. I also want to say how ironic I find it. It would be laughable if it weren't pathetic that just 5 days prior, at the July 6th pre-agenda meeting, the council decided, after some heated discussion, to keep city council meetings at 6 o'clock so the public could attend. Yet they turned right around, and the first budget hearing was held at 9 o'clock in the morning, and after the 6-hour meeting of that, they decided for it to be at 8 o'clock the next time, thus effectively keeping the citizens from participating because very few people can get here. So I just wanted folks to know that they need to pay attention to what the council is doing, and if you want to know why people don't trust you, why people don't believe what you say, this is just one sterling example. Thank you.
Tanya Castro, 408 7th. Good evening. We all understand that tourism brings jobs into our community. It helps our small business owners who are our friends and our neighbors, and it keeps our town thriving. However, like any industry, tourism should be paying its fair share. The taxpayers shouldn't have to tolerate the mess left on our public beaches, and we certainly shouldn't be the ones on the hook to clean up the mess. Keep It Neat isn't working. If anything, it's made matters worse. We have given a green light to anyone who wants to set up a campsite on our public beach. While the problem is magnified during holiday weekends, it is a problem all summer long and getting worse. Our beaches are trashed and our trash cans are overflowing. And that's not to say anything against our sanitation workers. I know they're getting them every day, but they just can't keep up with the volume. On our dunes, the first line of defense in storm surge, are trampled, burned, and full of trash. It is a hazard to walk along certain stretches, especially after sundown. 4th of July weekend, we found the largest compound we found was 14 tents all attached together. 14 tents taking up space, empty tents taking up space on the beach. It's a hazard to walk along certain stretches, especially after sundown, and in times of emergency, our first responders are fighting an obstacle course to respond and placing their own lives at risk. I'm asking you to pass a Leave No Trace ordinance immediately. Nothing left on the beach overnight. We are surrounded by Leave No Trace beaches in both Gulf and Bay County. People who go to the beach understand Leave No Trace. Education is easy. Place a sign at each end of town that announces that we're a Leave No Trace beach. Then beginning at 7 p.m. each evening, Memorial Day through Labor Day, collect anything left on the beach and at the same time collect the overflowing trash cans. Enforcement is not necessary. It only takes one time for your stuff to disappear and you get the message. And if you're really looking out for the taxpayer, ask the Bay County Commission to designate bed tax revenue to pay for the cleanup for at least 2 seasons. Because out of the $600,000 in tourism dollars generated in Mexico Beach last season, the city has received only about $50,000. The taxpayers are long overdue for some relief. There are approximately 2,800 individual properties in Mexico Beach, and of those, depending upon whose numbers you use, only 15 to 20% are vacation rentals. However, recently it seems that you are only listening to the 15 to 20% and have ignored the rest of the 80 to 85% of us. I won't be here on next Tuesday, but I'll give you my 2 cents worth on the sanitation ordinance. It's another decision that's been made for the 15 to 20%. You've allowed a handful of rental owners in an act of defiance to allow their trash to pile up on their property. Because of their act, you call an emergency meeting and give the other 80 to 85% of us no notice that you're going to repeal an ordinance that saves us money and reduces risk and injury for your employees. Come up with defined standards for a trash can holder out front for those vacation rental owners. Have the city approve the location of it. And come up with a solution that doesn't require the rest of the 80 to 85% who aren't complaining to pay more, because you know it's going to cost more if you continue that backdoor service. So please, I ask you to start listening to the folks who call Mexico Beach home, the only ones who have a vote on the sanitation ordinance, and I hope that you'll remember that next Tuesday, that only the people who live here and vote here have a vote on our laws and ordinances. Thank you.
Good evening. Sandy of 66 Azalea Drive. I was kind of hoping Connie would be here tonight because she does this so much better than I do. So just let me get this out. Sometimes it takes something terrible to happen for people to realize the people who mean a lot to them. And I know that a lot of people have been taking donuts and cookies and good stuff to the police department in the last week or so, which they probably need a few apples now to kind of help with the waistline. But we always appreciate the police department, and I want them to know that, and I wanted to say that in public. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Candace Burgess, 417 California, and I'm wearing my turtle jewelry today to let you know that I'm a big turtle fan, and I think there's a lot of turtle fans in Mexico Beach.
That's good.
And I saw just heartbreaking pictures of the turtles that were getting trapped around all of the debris that's left on the beach. And if you look at those pictures, you see that they're having to stop and go around things. And I heard that they even got caught in some of the debris, and the turtle had to be rescued. And the bad thing is, their instinct is to come and lay their eggs in that same spot every year. And when they come up to go lay their eggs and they can't get to it, and it's just such a hassle to get around all the stuff, then the pictures show that they're just turning around and going right back out without laying their eggs. So, you know, it's a detriment to our turtles. We tried to keep it neat, and it was, I thought, going to be just a year-long thing to see how it went, and I don't think it's gone well. I think the problem is we're attracting the wrong type of people here. They know that Mexico Beach is where they can come and set up their tents and leave them for a week. And that's their reserved spot, and all their stuff is, you know, piled in there, and it's not allowed in Bay County, it's not allowed in Gulf County. So why are we allowing the attraction of those type of people? And I heard that we had a bathroom vandalized too. So I think we need to stop and think about the fact that if we're advertising that we're keep it neat, then that's not the same as leave no trace. So please consider doing away with the keep it neat, and let's join our neighbors and keep our beaches neat the way they are. It's working for them. Their beaches are clean at night. Their rakes can clean. I don't know how the rake makes it through to clean up when you've got all that debris all over the beach. But please think about the turtles too, okay? Thank you.
Anyone else, please? Yes, ma'am.
Mary Lee Rollerson, and I live at 416 Texas Drive here in Mexico Beach. My husband and I have lived here for 5 years now, and we love it. Mexico Beach is home. I think in the last 2 years I have noticed an increase in a lack of respect for our city or our town by people who come, and part of that I feel like is fostered by by keep it neat. I think when our beaches look junky, and I have had people say this to me that don't live here, but live, you know, in Panama City, live in Port St. Joe. The beaches in Mexico Beach look junky, and they do when you drive by. And you see all these tents, with no covers on them. It does make the beach look junky. And I think that helps to foster a general lack of respect. If they don't respect the beach, why respect the town? And I pick up trash every day when I walk. I walk my dogs, and Mary sees me with a bag out picking up trash. That trash has increased tremendously, what I pick up every day. So I would just urge you to think about a leave no trace ordinance. I think it would help. And thank you, Glenn.
Okay, any others, please? Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you've read the items on the consent agenda, the meetings, regular meetings, special meetings. Are there any amendments or corrections? Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes. Pebble Ridge Dewberry.
Good evening, Jeff Britton, Dewberry Pebble Ridge. A lot to report this month, but it won't take long, I promise. We've made some contact with the owner on the alternate water supply project. We're hoping to get a sketch over them to make some more progress, keep that one moving forward. We don't have a firm timeline on that yet, but at least it's moving in the right direction right now. Canal improvements continue.
Can I ask a question about the alternate water source?
Sure,
That is a grant.
correct.
So that grant pays for your services and the testing of the water.
Correct.
And if there's a chance, I guess, that that wouldn't work there, the water wouldn't work there for a well?
We won't know until we test the waters.
Okay, so let's say it won't.
Okay.
What happens at that point?
We look elsewhere.
Okay, so this is an ongoing, this grant is just ongoing until we find something that's going to work?
It's been extended for another year,
Another year?
and as long as we keep making progress, we'll be able to extend it again.
Okay. And the grant itself will also pay for the well, the construction of the lines, whatever. It pays for every...
The value is $1.6 million.
Okay. 1.6. And you think that's going to take care of everything that we need to put that into?
It depends where we find the appropriate site and if we're able to procure it and construct there. When we originally applied for the grant, there was a parcel located north of town, but when ownership changed, the new owner said that we couldn't put it there. So then we began searching different areas. A couple different places have been sampled, and the water has just come back with too much, I think fluoride mostly in there. Too much treatment would be required.
So I guess my question ultimately is, all this work that you're doing, let's say it never happens. Let's say we can't find another source in a year. Who pays for this? Who pays for the work being done now?
The grant does.
The grant still will, even
Correct.
if we do not find...
Correct.
Okay, thank you, that was my question. Thanks.
Jeff, is the word grants correct? Because this was actually a special legislative appropriation.
Correct. It's a legislative appropriation. It's administered by DEP, the same folks that do fund a lot of our grants.
So no matter where it really comes from, it is a grant, but this one's a little different than most of what we get. It was correct. Senator Gates actually had a big hand in getting us this money for the alternate water project.
That's correct. All right. Canal improvements. Progress is being made. The first sheet pile wall with the cap on it looks spectacular, which kind of made me think, why didn't I bring pictures? So next month I'll have a couple pictures to put in my report to look at. Activities are continuing to prepare the forms and pour the concrete on the cap. They're also starting to prepare the forms for the retaining wall that's just landward. Then once they get that done, they'll come back and work on the sidewalk. Grading activities are being done. The conduit for that north-south run is in. So a lot of progress there. The Restore Act grant cycle or funding request application is just closed at the end of June. We submitted for the following projects. for the city of Mexico Beach. Sand bypass system, the 8th Street Canal offshore discharge, Salt Creek culvert replacement, the pier structural repairs, sanitary sewer improvements, which would include locating areas that may need attention, that are damaged, and then a regional stormwater project that would be upstream of the 8th Street Canal to improve water quality there. So, let's see, I think that does it for me. Parker Park, construction's begun, like the mayor said. I think we got a good group of guys working on it too, comfortable with them, so. Unless anybody has any questions, that'll do it for me.
Jeff, I visited them twice, and those guys are really on the QT, and the Dewberry team out there that did the survey did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
And
I'll
so
pass that along.
I'm very pleased at the speed they've got a hold of it. Go ahead, please.
And what is our time frame? Is there a new time frame? Because I know the contract had 180 days to 210 days. Do we know? Sort of rushing things, but, oh, I didn't see that.
We do know.
Yeah.
Okay, got it, thank you very much.
Sure.
Good. That's not what I wanted to say, but I was like, okay, thank you.
Sure thing. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
The next items on the agenda are some ordinance changes. There's the first reading of ordinance 640. Motion to read ordinance 640 by title only.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please read ordinance 640 by title only.
Ordinance 640, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the appropriation of funds of the budget for the fiscal year 2015-2016 for the purpose of providing funds for general fund and providing an effective date.
Without going into too much detail, for those of you who don't have any idea what we're talking about, this is a transfer of money into the general fund for the boat ramp extension and also for the police car. Is that correct?
Is the police car in here?
The expending of the insurance funds for the down payment of the police car.
We did that already.
We did that already. What's this one?
This one's just the boat ramp.
Just the boat ramp. Just the boat ramp. We have to have an ordinance every time we change our budget. We're working on the budget cycle right now, and we're trying to get ahead of that for the next year so we can do a little bit better budgeting. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 641. Motion to read ordinance 641 by title only.
So moved.
The second.
Second.
Please read ordinance 641 by title only.
Ordinance number 641 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, repealing ordinance number 617 and providing an effective date. 617 is the meeting agenda ordinance.
That's great. Only advice by our attorney, he recommended that we change our meeting ordinance to a meeting resolution. There's no significant change inside that document, but it will allow us more flexibility in the future. Ordinance 642. Motion to read ordinance 642 by title only.
So moved.
Second. Please read by title only.
Ordinance number 642, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending ordinance number 621, establishing long-term boat trailer parking at the boat ramp, repealing ordinances and/or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance and providing an effective date.
This ordinance will provide free parking for boat trailers at the boat ramp. It is an effort to accommodate both visitors and get our boat ramp itself back open for boats and that are launching. This is a process we're going through. The reason we're also doing this ordinance is to provide an exception for the chief. So it will not be a violation of city code to have overnight parking of trailers at the boat ramp. And I did notice that there's been a long-term has been described as 14 days in this ordinance. So they can have up to 14 days free parking unless we change that between now and then. Chief, it's your turn.
Ready for my report?
Yes, sir.
Oh, can I go to something about the long-term parking? I know that we had a discussion about the, defining long-term, and I don't have a problem with defining long-term. What I have, I guess the biggest problem I have is requiring, city resources, the police to just constantly monitor that parking area. The only reason I'm, a proponent of this idea is because I understand the boat trailers issue. We're very, very small. We have very limited room for anybody to park anything here, a car, a trailer, a truck and a trailer. So acquiring or using that back area will not impede the flow of the boat launch. I get that. That's the only reason why I'm agreeing to this at all. But, you know, my fear is that you're going to spend a lot of time figuring out who's been there for 14 days. And I don't want you to spend a lot of time on that. I want the boat trailer people who want this, who are saying we need something, somewhere to park our trailers, to monitor it themselves. And I don't know. So I don't know if saying no, not defining long-term, keep reaching for my mouse, would have any effect. But that's my fear, is that you'll just spend a lot of time, and I don't want you to spend a lot of time. It's already time-consuming enough what you do.
I agree.
You won't be spending as much time as you have.
This is going to be discussed at 2 workshops in between now. It takes a full month before we can read this ordinance again. So there'll be 2 workshops in between, and we want citizens' comments about this. That's, like I said, unless there's any details that has changed sometime in the next month.
And we have to read the ordinance again. Right?
It's in the back of the packet.
And any changes need to be done within the next 2 weeks, or else it won't be able to be second read
Right.
next week.
Right.
Okay. Your report, Chief.
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank everyone for the deliveries of the cards and good donuts. And yeah, we had some good donuts. And Miss Sandy, I haven't posted anything about your donuts. They ate them all before I could get one of yours, so I had to watch those day shift guys. But you know, not to make light of anything that's happened in Dallas, Missouri, Georgia, Tennessee, Louisiana. What happened was terrible on both sides, and you know, it's a hard time for law enforcement right now. It's time for everyone, in my opinion, to start coming together instead of going opposite directions, and we appreciate all the support the community has given to the police department. I just want to say thank you for that. A hot topic that wasn't in my report is 201 8th Street. We've been working on this address for well over 2 months. Code violations, too many to list. Have 8 days left on the 30-day notice to remove all of his uninsured, unregistered vehicles. We towed his trailer that was parked on city property Friday. They have mowed the grass. They have at least done that. We did receive a phone call today from the actual owner of the property. He did in fact confirm over the phone that he is a sovereign citizen and will not abide by any law, especially Mexico Beach police law or code enforcement. He has a rude awakening coming.
Yes, he does, Chief.
Yes, and he notified the supervisor that he was great and grand and walked on water, and me, you, Mayor, and Paul Francis were all out to get him. So I don't know where Mr. Paul came in on this, but that's what was said today. And I'm not going to describe what he called Officer Brenner. So, I don't have a target on anyone, but he will abide by our ordinances and our laws. And I want everyone in that neighborhood to rest assured, in 8 days, we will in fact go into levying and using city assets to remove all of that property that has not been removed. There's a process for it, and he was noticed today for that. And something that was brought up too, the stabbing suspect that we arrested did not have any ties to 201 8th Street. I don't know where that came from, but he is in fact nowhere involved in 201 8th Street. So still moving forward.
Hey, Chief, let me ask you a question. Can I about that? Thank you for working on this. So let me ask you a question. I always seem to play devil's advocate, but so he's been cited for having all those,
It's been noticed.
noticed for having all of those vehicles and all the stuff he has around. Let's say, for instance, he gets rid of those within the 8 days. What happens? Does
Well,
the process
that-
start over again? Because we know it'll happen over again, but
Well, like I said, there's numerous violations. I mean, it's,
because he mowed the grass. That's when you said that to me, I thought, oh, good grief. What happens if he just, finds a place to move all that stuff and then in 2 weeks brings it back?
I don't see how he can do it in 8 days
Okay.
with the amount of debris that's all over that property. The entire backyard is covered in debris. Hot tub, stoves, you name it, it's back there. It's terrible.
That's
And
the property owner, that's not a tenant.
that's property owner. Yes, ma'am. And we also stole his golf cart too, by the way. So,
Well, be careful. I know it's a dangerous situation, so.
yes, it is. So just let us, what I'm asking is to let the police or code enforcement handle that area. Don't confront any of the people there. It's a situation you don't want to get involved with. And we're working on it constantly. And getting off of 8th Street, 4th of July, I wanted to thank everyone involved in that. I think this is like the mayor said, the largest crowd that I've ever seen in Mexico Beach for the 4th of July. And we done it with 7 officers and I think 5 firemen, 2 ESU members. And yes, we did get complaints about driving fast, to answer calls on the beach. But if there's any complaints, I was leading the pack, so.
Well, I will tell you that I had several people call me about that. My concern was the four-wheeler that was flying down the road. That's a little scary to me.
That'll also show you that the speed was not what was stated.
Well, I don't know about the speed. I'm just saying, I don't know that should be happening. The four-wheeler going down, for a call?
It's got emergency lights on it too.
We'll have that discussion.
Okay. It's a police vehicle, so.
I know it is, but it's, okay.
Okay. And most of the calls we were receiving were on the beach, so. Anyway, thanks to Public Works for all their work in it, CDC, and this is the best I've seen the 4th go as far as teamwork between fire, police, and ESU. It worked out great, and it's moving forward in that aspect, and we enjoyed it. We really had a good time. So, moving on to the administrative, my report. We have a record number of visitors here, as previously stated. If you have a Yeti cooler, please secure it.
Hot item.
If it's there for more than 10 minutes unattended, it's probably gonna be looked at by someone that wants a Yeti cooler and can't afford it. So we had 3 in just rustic sands in one night. So if you leave them in the back of your truck or you leave them out beside your RV unsecured, there's a good possibility it's gonna grow legs. Lock your vehicles up, help us a little bit, at least lock them up. I can only remember one time where we had forced entry in my 14 years here into a car. And that was criminal mischief. It wasn't actually burglary. So that was just someone being crazy and busting out car windows. So lock your cars, and that eliminates 90% of our car burglaries. But with the influx of visitors also, not all of our visitors are law-abiding citizens, and they are on the prowl for these type of things. If you see someone suspicious, please give us a call. We have had a run for the past 2 weeks for some pretty significant crimes in Mexico Beach. We were able to make arrests the same day, some within 15 minutes, some within an hour. And I'm referring to the armed robbery and the stabbing of attempted murder of a female. And we've also had fights. You know, Mexico Beach is known for, I know the old saying, you know, it's a fishing town with a drinking problem. Now I think we have a drinking problem, especially on the beach. I've had numerous complaints for people being intoxicated on the beach, rude, cursing, children present. Had a fight on the beach, sent a man to the hospital in critical ICU condition. He was just released, just came out of a coma, and has went back to Georgia now. But at one point we did not know if we were having a murder investigation or not. So if you're gonna drink, please drink responsibly. That's all we're asking you to do. Don't take it into your own hands and try and control a situation. That's what we're there for. That's why we get paid the big bucks. I didn't know we was going to have a turnout today for the beach items. 4th of July, understandably, is one of our busiest weekends. We also had some items washing up on shore where I had to take out the four-wheeler to look for more items washing up on the beach that we didn't want people to get their hands on. And there was times that I had problems getting through the beach on our four-wheeler. I mean, I'm not talking about a big vehicle. I've seen the pictures of the turtles trying to lay eggs on the beach. I've seen their crawl marks. I've seen where, you know, they were caught in the ropes, the tent ropes coming down. I know of 2 false crawls that were reported and sent in via email by Miss Barbara Ells from St. Joe Beach, who heads up the Turtle Patrol. You know, I know I discussed it last year, but if we're going to have the tents left on or set up on the beach, if there's any way possible, I'm not saying put an imaginary line, but I'm saying a distance between the water and a distance between the dune, because they are all the way from the edge of the water all the way to the dune line, tent after tent after tent, and people, kids, people laying in the water in their chairs. It's just a hazard for us to try and get out on the beach. ESU only goes out whenever they have a call on the beach. We take the four-wheeler out for public relations as well as, you know, ordinance violations. Glass bottles off the beach, the dogs off the beach, stuff like that. Like I said, I took it out twice and I had problems getting through on the four-wheeler. I do agree that when people come down, they leave their tents, chairs, coolers, everything out on the beach. They're piled up in a nice little pile up under their tent, and most of them take the cover off their tents or shade and bring it back the next morning. That's their part of the beach. That's a public beach that belongs to everyone, in my opinion, and shouldn't be staked out. And saying all that, I would, and I have asked for some type of line, if we're not going to do a leave no trace, some type of line where we can get through. And I remember the first meeting the mayor was here about forgot the Army Way. Yep, well, I'm still in the Army and I haven't forgot the Army Way. We can attack over the dunes, but
Hadn't changed my mind either.
yes, I didn't figure you did. But what I'm saying is, you know, on the east end of town, we've got 2 beach accesses. One at Gulf County, and the next one is at 10th Street, or between 9th and 10th Street. So you got that whole entire area where we don't have beach access. We have to go down either one of those accesses to get on the beach to go east. On the west end, or from 10th Street on down, we have numerous accesses to get onto the beach with. Whenever I was on the beach, one of the times I had Brenna coming to me from Canal Parkway on her Explorer. I finally called her off the beach. I said, if you're having as much problem as I'm having getting through the people and the tents and all, get off the beach. It's unsafe for you to be out here trying to maneuver through all this. So she did. She got off the beach, and I finished on the ATV. And it's not one area. It was the entire area of the beach. And these tents the frames are being left there when the people leave. You see them.
Chief, I'd ask you to get off the workshop agenda and finish your report.
Okay. Moving on. Sergeant Bailey has returned to work, very light duty. The 2 Chargers that we purchased used are in service now. The 2 vehicles, once we get through processing all these other crimes, we'll finish getting them stripped out and sold on auction. You'll look at the 2014-2015 comparison for the calls. We had 399 calls for service. For June 2016, we had 281 calls, same time period for 2015. That concludes my report. Pending any questions?
Questions?
Yeah, I just want to ask one question, even though we're going to talk about this later. If we had the leave no trace in effect, would that cut down on the amount of tents you have during the daytime? Would that cut down on the traffic that you have by people being on the beach? Now, we all realize 4th of July was different, but I mean, typically, would it?
So your question is, would it?
My question is, would people bring those tents and set them back up, and would all this still be in the way during the daytime, when probably 90% of your calls on the beach are during the daytime, would you guess?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so I'm just wondering, would it make a big difference with the leave no trace? People are going to put things up if they have to take it in, they're going to get it out early the next morning, probably.
I agree. But they also leave them on the tent, they leave them on the beach unattended. As far as, just like I said before, I was told to move on. The tents the frames that are left on the beach, they're just left there.
Yeah, I mean, they go back to Georgia or Alabama or wherever and leave it, yeah.
Just leave them there. So that would eliminate that.
Okay, I don't know what that percentage of people on the beach versus people who leave things on the beach would be. I haven't looked at it that close.
Come out one day on the four-wheeler, we'll go take
Okay.
a look.
I'd be glad to.
Yes, ma'am, you have a comment on this topic? Is it on?
On other beaches, they found that if people
Please come
know-
up. This is a televised meeting.
Judith Black, 15th Street. On other beaches that have a Leave No Trace, they found that if people know they have to take everything with them back off the beach every day, they don't bring so much down.
That makes sense.
If they don't have to take it off, they bring everything from their garage and everything to fit in their truck and unload it. Every day they add more and more and more and more. If they know they have to take it every day, they don't bring as much with them.
We're certainly going to talk about Leave No Trace again, but we need this year's data to look at. And I hope everyone realized that our situation's been exacerbated this year by a mile of beach that's normally used by all these visitors was inaccessible this year. So West Beach past the canal wasn't used. That's what really caused, in my opinion, some of the congestion. Looked at it myself on 4th of July. I know, I already said we had the most people ever, but I came now all the way down the beach, kind of halfway counted all those umbrellas, active umbrellas on the 4th of July, and it was crowded. It was serious, but we will talk about that again in the future. Emergency services, we have a report.
You want me to brief it?
I didn't have any questions. Does anybody have any questions about multiple?
No.
No.
Okay. Public Works, Mr. Hall.
Just real quick, you can see that we used 13.7 million gallons of water, quite a bit. You'll notice under Public Works, field maintenance calls were pretty high. A lot of it had to do with the sanitation ordinance. The one thing that I want to really point out here is down there at the sanitation part, where them guys picked up 467,160 pounds, which equates to 233 tons. Big week. Yeah. If there's any questions, that's it.
I got a question. So I know that we're working on Saturdays and Sundays pretty much now. How long does that last?
Labor Day.
Till Labor Day?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll quit sooner if commercial business say we don't need to be picked up anymore.
Okay, Mr. Welly.
The usual with the usual format. There's just a few key things I want to bring your attention to. First one's going to be year-to-date actual. You notice that we have lost $309,000 in the general fund. And also, if you look at the next page under general fund operating, it shows us negative overall in cash. This is what we talked about a few months ago, was what I had to watch and was going to happen. This is all our projects. This is the grant money. This is a pass-through. It's going to come back to the positive, but we have to get those reimbursements first. So this is the canal project, the MBARA, the Under the Palms Park, things like that. So don't be alarmed by it. It's what we expected to happen. Other than that, everything's on pace.
And the audit?
Audit was released last Friday. Got the hardbound copies yesterday. They're in everybody's box. And I believe someone will be here to present at the next meeting. I can't say for sure. Also, at the next meeting in August, we will have a presentation from the FERDAP people for another $50,000 check. And of course, the meeting on Monday at 8 a.m.
So that's for the other $50,000 check from FERDAP is for the
Parker Park.
For the Parker Park.
Parker Park. Right?
We've already gotten the funds for
The new
both
one,
of
we already
them.
got.
Yeah, we got the two other ones that, yes, for Parker Park. He called today, or else he would have been here tonight. But the audit looks good. I don't see anything, but I'll have him come present it.
Jeff, I'll meet with you about that grant.
Okay.
Because I don't think we ended up with the splash pad still in the plan, did we?
As far as I know, this.
We're researching how to get the most bang for our buck now.
Yeah. Okay. I'll meet with you. Thanks. Any questions of Mr. Welly?
You said somebody's gonna come and talk
Yeah.
about the,
We're going to try and get him to present like they do every year. Just don't know when.
Mr. Smigelski.
Thank you, Your Honor. if you would, in light of the fact we talked about the audit, we need for the public to give a round of appreciation to our city clerk and his financial wizardry. We checked all the audits from the year 2000, and every one of them had audit findings in them. This is the first year since that time we have not had an audit finding. So by all means, it's sometimes a very thankless job, and people think, well, it's your job anyway, you shouldn't have any findings, but small communities normally do because of the lack of available staff to really separate the duties as we should. So if you would, please thank Adrian. Pat him on the back, give him a hug, whatever you want to do later. Maybe you don't want to pat him on the back, I don't know. Parker Park groundbreaking. Finished this document up late this afternoon. We threw together the groundbreaking as quick as we possibly could because we wanted to be as much ahead of schedule of the construction as possible. So that will be happening, as the mayor indicated, 9 o'clock Thursday. This document, which includes the construction schedule on the back, was placed on the website late this afternoon. It went on Facebook this afternoon. Press release was sent out to various news agencies this afternoon. Also, we are emailing it to as many people on 26th Street as we have email addresses for. We don't have all that many. So tomorrow we're going to be taking these documents door to door to alert the public in that neck of the woods. We are also going to call those that are not home, so if they're people who don't live here but we got their number listed, we'll go ahead and give them a call. That way they're aware of the fact that we are having this groundbreaking, and after the groundbreaking is over, the city staff, the city engineers, that is the Dewberry folks, also the BCL workers, will be on hand to answer any questions. We'll meet with whoever wants to meet with us afterwards, and we'll make it clear to those who can't attend that they can always call us at any time if they have any questions and concerns, and we can pass those on to the engineer and the contractor.
So those neighbors can stay after the groundbreaking, your meeting will be then?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
I have one thing on that. We talked about this earlier about posting sunshine law. I didn't realize there's a meeting. Is the council going to be at that meeting?
It's not a city council meeting, it's between the staff and the public.
Perfect.
We may be around, but we're not going to be there for question and answer period. Not without an advertisement, we can. Announcements, please.
Nothing here.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.